parent voice look like to you? Many states wonder how to work toward meaningful parental participation as required under IDEA. This session will explore Indiana's strategic collaboration between the Indiana Department of Education, a network of state technical assistance centers, and the Parent Training Information Center, InSource. Participants will consider the benefits of intentionally giving parents a voice and a regular seat at the big table. Almost 30 years of research and experience has demonstrated that the education of children with disabilities can be made more effective by strengthening the role and responsibility of parents and ensuring that families have meaningful opportunities to participate in the education of their children at school and at home. This presentation is a collaborative effort between the Indiana Department of Education and InSource, Indiana's Resource Center for Families with Special Needs. For over 45 years, InSource has provided parents, families, individuals, and service providers in the state of Indiana the information and training necessary to help assure effective educational programs and appropriate services for individuals with disabilities.
I'm Dr. Dawn McGrath, Director of InSource. Like many of you, my role as a parent of a child with a disability has informed my practice as a special educator and a professional, and it has strengthened my ability to develop collaborative relationships. When I was a teacher before my son was born, I remember thinking that difficulties with a given student would be different if the parents would just do this or do that, in effect blaming the parents, even if I didn't say it out loud. Becoming a parent of a child with a disability gives you the inner voice to understand the gift of challenge a child brings. That voice needs to be intentionally welcomed into state systems through persistent and substantial design.
Human compassion is so needed on this job. You know, so often when you're navigating and you're looking for services, it's the yes, no answer, go to this place, go to that place. When you're a parent and you're looking for services, you've knocked on so many doors and gone to all the wrong places. So when you do find the right place, it's kind of like this, you're just waiting to exhale. And they did the evaluation and they had to explain the results of the evaluation. I'll never forget that day. And basically they were telling me, your child is severe and profound, and this is the setting she's gonna have to be in. And I couldn't even breathe. And my then husband and I, we were sitting there, and I'll never forget, Chuck Moore said, but it's okay. You're not by yourself, you're not the only person, and we're gonna help you through this. And I'll never forget, just something that small made all the difference in the world, because you're dealing with all these technical terms and technicalities and this and that, but the human touch. And I think what's so important about an organization is that you're either a parent or family member of a child with a disability, so you can relate. So I think the compassion part, and that's what it was for me, for them to say, you know what, you're not alone, you're not by yourself, we've got you, and we're gonna be there for you, and they were. So.
In 2009, I served as the Director of Exceptional Learners for the state of Indiana. As we identified technical assistance centers to serve the professionals and families across the state, we required each project to participate in a cooperative consortium we called the Indiana Resource Network. The Parent Training and Information Center, PTI, was one of those subcontracted grants. So by design, parent representatives were right there on the team to design and deliver support to school personnel across the state. In addition, we welcomed a representative from the PTI to have an office at the Department of Education right next to the educational specialists in the Division of Exceptional Learners. This presence has served as a two-way conduit that keeps communication flowing through the system. You've probably heard the version of the parable of the babies in the river, but let's hear it again to frame our thinking about designing systems to fulfill the promise of IDEA. Once upon a time, there was a small village on the edge of a river. One day, a villager noticed a baby floating down the river. The villager quickly swam out to save the baby from drowning. The next day, the same villager noticed two babies in the river. He called out to his brother, who helped rescue both from the swift waters. And the following day, 4 babies were seen caught in the turbulent current. The villager called for help and swam out to save the babies. He looked behind and saw his brother walking quickly upstream. "What are you doing, my brother?" he yelled out in despair. The brother replied, "I'm going upstream to see who's throwing them in." This story reminds us that we can get better results if we envision a plan that considers the entire system, from the state office to the family table. State leaders can work to create task force or action teams, but this work might only be accessed by the few. Local neighbors can help each other with their children with special circumstances, but these efforts might be disconnected to equitable information and resources. Even more can be gained when there is a system that not only considers parents as partners in state leadership, but also is organized to support parents all the way to the level of the family. This thoughtful approach increases information and support for families who often do not have equitable familiarity and access to resources.
InSource, we're thrilled to be in collaboration with the FACE program. And FACE basically stands for Family and Community Engagement. And that focuses on the development of Southfield Community School Corporation families and the community in collaboration with community partners. And basically what that's saying is FACE identifies with all the services within the corporation. And as a family comes in for different activities or whatever, and their needs are identified, then they can provide direction into where those families can go as far as services and learning how to communicate with families, especially on an individualized basis. So it's nice that we're now going to be housed in the same building that FACE is housed in, providing our services there. So what's so exciting about FACE, we've gone over there to do trainings, but across the hall, you'll hear all this noise and they're doing a Zumba class, parents and their kids. You go over and they'll be doing puppet things. They're over here. I mean, it's just a building full of just joy, laughter, and activity. And I'm glad that InSource has moved in that direction. And we've really been welcomed. We've been asked to like I said, to collaborate with them. So I'm in the process now of setting up an office there. So we have our space and we're going to take off running at the beginning of the school year, which starts in August.
InSource actually came to me by, I would say, word of mouth when I started this IEP process. Went into the school, knew I had to do an IEP, but I did not realize that, or didn't even know that an organization like InSource existed until I heard, I think it was through a support group where a parent, we were talking and just said, oh, there is an organization called InSource, maybe you should look it up. So when I did look it up, I was impressed. I was so amazed of how just navigating through the website just to see how much resources are at the tip of your fingertips. And then those resources really helped me navigate through or even go and sit in an IEP meeting. Furthermore, when this COVID pandemic happened, just contacting a region specialist, which I cannot say enough about her, who helped me through how to get specific things in this pandemic and to make the education, just to make the school year bearable for my child. I'm so grateful that I was able to get that information from InSource. Sometimes I feel like that may not be enough for particular communities out there. And one of those communities I will say is, maybe what about those communities that are not social media savvy? They don't have internet access. I come from a Muslim community, actually a Pakistani Muslim community, and just going to our mosque and talking to families and seeing that these are families that their children need an IEP, but they have no idea how to navigate because English is not even their first language. What about going into places like religious institutions like the mosque or the church or a temple, where you got families over there and their children go through the public school system? Why not go and do outreach programs for them and see and let them know that this is what InSource is about? For these families to know that there is an organization out there and to reach those families. As I said, there are families out there who have no idea what an IEP stands for. And even if they do have an IEP or a 504, they just take the bare minimum and they just take it as it is because they have no idea what the rights and the laws are for our children. Our children are protected.
Hi, I'm Lisa Paddock, and I'm the Assistant Director for InSource. And for the past 12 years, I have had the honor of serving at the Indiana Department of Education as the parent liaison between the parent organization and the state. Parent participation has always been taken seriously in Indiana. Once the mechanism was established to have a parent to be part of the team in the state office, meaningful discussions with state staff occur naturally every day. I have been able to serve on state and federal committees and share the parent voice during the decision-making process. There will always be hard work needed to build relationships. But Indiana is ahead of the game in listening to parents' voices, reducing efforts needed for dispute processes, and encouraging equitable education for students receiving special education services. It is so valuable to be able to interact with Dr. Holsapple and her staff to make sure that they are aware of what is going on with families in Indiana.
Hi, I am Dr. Nancy Holsapple. I serve as the Director of Special Education for the state of Indiana. Having a parent liaison as a member of our team has improved the ability for my office to be reminded of the parent perspective on a day-to-day basis. It has also enabled us to promulgate a greater understanding of why decisions are made at the state level. Lisa listens to the reasoning, participates in the discussions, and shares what she has learned so that parents across the state can have an educated perspective on the matters that the state must address. When there are issues with the services that InSource provides, I can make Lisa aware so that the Parent Information Center can improve their services to families. Intentional and honest communication guides understanding and respect. Even if both parties are not in agreement, they see the value of the other perspective.
One of the greatest honors that I have ever received was to be asked to serve on the State Advisory Council. Here I am at the table with representatives from every educational and community agency with interests in special education. I know our voice is not only heard, but respected. I also appreciate being part of the Indiana Resource Network and have had the opportunity to understand the provisions that are available in the collaborative relationship working with other technical assistance centers. Our organization has also participated regularly in the stakeholder groups. Particularly recently, we had discussions around setting baselines and targets for the compliance and performance indicators.
There are many examples where we have asked Lisa to join in the conversation and give input to represent the families served by her organization. For example, we had work groups that wrestled with a certificate of completion and another that addressed transition services. Much progress was made because of parent involvement. With Senate Bill 1629, parents were again a part of the discussion on the topic of dispute resolution. Our state is wrestling with requirements to discontinue emergency permits, and it has been helpful that a parent who has been engaged in the difficult considerations is able to make sure that parents are listening and that everyone is reminded to do what is best for students.
Additionally, another service that InSource offers is the service of preparing presentations and communications collaboratively with the state of Indiana and other community stakeholders. The pandemic has given InSource the opportunity to update families on current guidance as it was being developed. We have heard parent concerns and we have taken those concerns back to the state. We always receive great feedback from parents when the state special education director speaks during our presentations. We have done podcasts where the state director is listening in to hear concerns and make sure what we're saying is in alignment with correct information. Additionally, we have been able to access information that's already vetted to be sure the families not only have the most accurate information on what is going on, but they also understand the reasons behind the actions that were taken by the state. As a parent of a young adult with special healthcare needs, I get it. InSource gets it. We understand that those conversations are difficult, and that is what this collaboration helps do. The collaboration between InSource, Indiana's PTI, and the state special education department helps give equity to family voices, giving additional emphasis on voices of children who are in at-risk populations as we work to ensure that those families' voices are included at the table. Rome was not built in a day. Relationships are not built in a day. But collaboration means that we work together, listening carefully and valuing each other's ideas and each other's thoughts. We can do this together, and we can come to the table in order to plan for better equity and meaningful services for our children in every way that we can so that they are successful in their daily life.
This Henry Ford quote is particularly relevant to our approach to partnering with parents. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress, and working together is success.